Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy XI on the Xbox 360. Up first we have the beta disc that came with OXM54. On the front it talks about playing the free exclusive beta for 11. On the back, it showcases that it comes with 2 of the expansion packs for Final Fantasy XI, which had been out for a little while at this point, and the base game. The disc itself showcases that it is from OXM54 and has a pretty nice design with FF11 Online, with a couple characters at the bottom and what might be a main story character up top. But honestly, the disc design is pretty nice, and that's something demo discs generally do well. They want it to catch your eye, so the disc generally looks pretty neat. Up next we have a retail copy of Final Fantasy XI Online for the 360. This is not the first retail copy, this did come out a little later. This is the 2008 Vanadil Collection, which comes with 4 of the expansion packs: Rise of the Zillart, Chains of Promathia, Treasures of Ut-Urgon, and Wings of the Goddess. So you would get the base game and those 4 expansion packs with this collection. At this point too, they were giving out 30 days of subscription when you bought one of these collections, so with this you would also get 30 days of game time. Inside we have a pretty basic disc that just kind of shows the Final Fantasy XI Online logo and that this is the Vanadil Collection. It's not bad, but it's not great. It's just passable, it's okay. The demo disc looks way better. We also have the manual and the quick manual. They both go over very similar things, but I assume the quick manual was just added in because, as you'll see, it has a full map, which is really nice. So it's probably more for the map than anything else. The regular manual is pretty thick, to be honest, coming in at a whopping 53 pages, which for a manual, especially in the 360 era, is pretty massive. Inside, the manual goes over everything from how to install the Play Online viewer. Once you get a little farther in, it does go over playable characters in the game, such as Hume, Elvon, Tarutaru, Mithra, and Golka. Basically just the different races you have of choosing your in-game character. After choosing your character, it talks about the different job classes in the game. Up next, we have the quick manual, which has a frequently asked questions segment that talks about things like what are world passes, mog houses, auction houses, etc., as well as a quick start guide on installing and moving forward through that process, just like it did in the manual. The quick start guide does also have these mini walkthroughs, I suppose for mission 1 of each of the starting zones, which is kind of a neat addition. I wouldn't imagine you would need much help in an MMO for a starting zone, but it's just kind of neat that they added it. I assume to fill up space because, like I said, the main attraction of this quick start guide is definitely the map. And once you open the map, it just kind of shows you the whole area as well as some keyboard controls. It does have controller inputs on the back, so you can see like how to control it with the 360 controller as well. But you can tell like the map segment may be pulled from like the PC version of the game, because I can't imagine too many people that played this on 360 plugged in a mouse and keyboard. I'm sure some did, but I imagine most played with the controller. Final Fantasy XI is an MMO set in the Final Fantasy universe. It first released in May 16th, 2002 in Japan for the PS2, and Windows in November of that year. The first US release of the game was October 28th, 2003 for PC, and then March of 2004 for PS2. So the game was originally designed for PS2 and ported to PC later, even though in America we got it for PC first. From what I've read about the game, there are some effects that worked better on PS2, such as weather and some avatar effects that just don't translate that well over to PC, but I can't speak much to that on personal experience. It's just what I've read. Today, however, we're talking about the 360 port of Final Fantasy XI, released in North America first on April 18th of 2006, and 2 days later in Japan, April 20th. So finally something we got first. In the February 2006 issue of OXM, they had the exclusive beta disc for players to test out the game on 360. The disc had 2 of the expansions playable. Once the user joined via the Play Online service, the disc would install the beta service and allow the 360 to connect to the servers. On release, players were able to carry over their beta progress to the full game, which is always nice, and makes sense in this case because the servers were already active after all. So up first we have the beta version of the Play Online service. We'll get this installed and get back to you. Enjoy the awesome Play Online install music. There's something about this music that just strikes me as so much of like the time, right? I feel like you wouldn't hear music like this in an installer today, but it just feels right for something that came out in the mid-2000s. So, as expected, when we try to update the beta version of the Play Online service for 360, we just get an error code that it cannot connect to the server, and then it disconnects from the network and version update failed. And that's about as far as we can get with the beta version of the Play Online software. So up next, we have the release version of the Play Online software, and we will get that installed and see if we can update. The installer does look a little better on the full release version than the beta version. Not much better, I mean it looks overall the same, but it does look a little neater. And for what it's worth, I did look to see if there were any private servers for 11 that would allow play from a console like a PS2 or a 360, but I couldn't find one. And it kind of makes sense since the game is still getting updates on PC here and there. I would imagine that there's not much want to push back to console play of the game when you could just play it on basically any PC built today. So this time, unlike the beta version, it does actually let us update the Play Online service. So let's let it update here. It's interesting to me that we can still actually update this since it was disabled so long ago. The official date for when this was disabled on consoles was March 31st, 2016, which means almost 6 years later, we can still download the update contents for the Play Online functionality on 360. Which, why this is still available to be downloaded, why these servers are still online, I can only imagine it's because Final Fantasy XI is still online. But I'm surprised that these files are still out there to be accessed, honestly. Once we completed the update, we are going to restart it as it asks. And then we are given the notice regarding the termination of Final Fantasy XI for 360. A thank you message that talks about how the service was terminated March 31st of 2016, and to please visit the official FF11 website for details. I think it's nice that you can actually still access this message today since the game is still live. I don't know how much longer you're going to be able to download this update though. And with this being the age that it is, I mean 6 years old, the fact that you can still get this message today, as I said before, like, I'm really surprised that you can still download and receive this message. And it's not just some error code. I think that's pretty nice on Square Enix's part, even for a game that may not have that many numbers, or really people trying to access this. I can't imagine many people other than me in March of 2022 downloaded an update for Play Online. So the fact that this message was still able to be downloaded and given to me is really neat and kind of special to me. And then once we progress through that screen, it gives us that the beta tests for the Play Online viewer have officially ended, which that one's a little weird to me because it's not the beta version anymore, obviously. And that the currently installed software can no longer be used. Please select uninstall software to uninstall. And that's it. That's as far as you can get with the Play Online service for 360 in 2022. Honestly, it was pretty interesting to try this and see that, things were still able to be downloaded. It's sad that you can't play 11 on 360 still, but it makes sense for an MMO that definitely has a dwindling player base, and relegating that to PC only probably helps them with adding that new content and keeping that team likely relatively small, since most of that work has probably moved to 14, and, rightfully so. This was a fun trip down what is probably nostalgic for most people, but a game I never experienced on 360, so going through the Play Online service was kind of neat, even if I couldn't get anywhere with it. Thank you all for watching another video on the channel. I hope you enjoyed what hopefully is a nostalgic trip for you, or just piqued your curiosity about trying to access an MMO through a dead service, 6 years after its end date. I do have a Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/cdian, same name as here, and we play over there usually 2 to 3 times a week. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and look forward to more content like this. So thanks everybody, and have a great one.